right, well, welcome to the Christian View. I am your host, Dr. Trudy, and we are on location. We are in West Palm Beach, and I have the privilege of interviewing the beautiful Sam Sorbo. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you.
You wear so many hats, so let me just name a few. So you're a wife,
Yes.
a mom,
Mm-hmm.
an actress,
Mm-hmm.
you're an educational advocate,
Mm-hmm.
to name a few. And you've also written, I just learned you've written 2 devotionals, not one.
Mm-hmm.
So you are a busy, busy lady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
So,
And that makes all the difference in the world.
yeah, I'm very passionate about what I'm doing.
Yeah. We're going to get into all that you're doing, but let me ask you this. So tell me a little bit about your background. Where were you raised? When did you become a Christian?
Oh, okay. Well, I was born at a very young age. I was actually born on the West Coast, raised on the East Coast.
Okay.
Raised in a secular family. We were Jewish, but we celebrated Christmas and Easter. Go figure.
Right.
So when I was in my early 20s, I went on a search because I had already been very successful.
Mm-hmm. You were a successful model at the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd been raised by a single mother.
Right.
Who'd been virtually abandoned with 4 little kids.
Oh, wow.
And so the whole focus of my upbringing was get a job,
Mm-hmm.
get a career, first get an education, go to college, get a job, get a career, make money,
Right.
like be secure.
Right. And security equaled money.
Yep,
at
that
the
was
time.
and then I became very successful and I made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't mean anything to me. It was just like, okay, I feel secure now. I've got X amount of dollars in the bank and I'm
Right.
good. And I sort of went, so this is it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, stick a fork in me? I'm done?
Right.
And so I went on a search for the meaning of life, and I found, just suffice it to say, I found order in the universe, and I decided to call that God.
Right.
And then I went in search of God's house, and I ended up at a church in Los Angeles that was phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I found Christ.
Wow. And so you've been walking with Christ for how many years now?
That would date me, so decades.
Decades. So how did your life change when you accepted Christ? You were so successful. You were searching.
Oh, I can tell you exactly. I lost the fear that I'd been raised with.
Right.
I was raised with a great deal of fear. And when I found God,
Right.
the fear went away.
That's amazing.
I can't do it all,
Right.
and I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. That's fantastic. And so, yeah, the fear's gone, which is interesting because I'm reminded of, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Right.
But I guess my fear changed to fear of God
Right.
rather than fear.
Right. Fear of man or fear of not being
That
successful.
crippling fear, right?
Because when you have the fear of the Lord, you can actually, you can do anything.
It's reverential and it's awesome. It's
Right.
not...
Right.
Yeah.
It's bold. There's boldness and there's kind of an authority when it comes to the fear of the Lord because you know if God is for you,
Yeah.
then who can stand
Who
against
can stand
you?
against,
You know,
exactly.
and I think so many people today, even being a counselor, no, they walk around in fear. They walk around in fear of who they are. People pleasing.
Look at the times that we're living in.
Right.
The reason that we have all of the mess that we're going
Mm-hmm.
through is singularly because of fear.
Right.
We are a very fearful society,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can captivate somebody through fear, you shut down their thoughts.
Right.
Because we no longer think when we're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm an education freedom advocate.
Yeah.
Because I was a very good student and a
Right.
terrible test taker. So you would never know that I was a good student.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is because there's so much anxiety around the test that
Right.
the anxiety shuts down the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting in front of an organic chemistry midterm
Right.
for like 30 minutes unable to write my name.
Just because of fear.
The
And panic,
anxiety,
yeah.
the panic, right? And we're a panicked society
We
right
are.
now.
And I think the media wants us to be that way because, as you said, fear shuts you down.
Right.
And so therefore there's that manipulation and there's that control. If they can keep us in fear, then they keep us in bondage.
They have the power.
Right. And it's time to take the power back.
And fear is bondage.
Mhm. It truly is.
So I was set free.
Amen. I love it. Okay, so fast forward, you met your husband. How did you meet your husband?
Oh, all right. Well, it's such a good story,
Okay.
but I'll shortcut it for
Yeah.
you. How do I do that? I was an actress, and I got a role on Hercules, The
Okay.
Legendary Journeys, which shot down in New Zealand, and so that's how I met Kevin.
Okay. That is amazing.
But it's a really good story, and it's in his book, True Strength.
Yes, so make sure you get True Strength. It's a great, and they can get all your books on samsorbo.com.
Yeah, or just sorbostudios.com.
Okay, so make sure you get all her books, and we're going to talk about a couple of them in just a few minutes. So you met Sam, and did you get married? I mean, you met Kevin.
I did meet Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, and you met Sam when you met. Okay. Anyway, so and then you got married.
Yeah.
How long after that would you get until you got married?
So we dated. We dated for 6 months and got engaged.
Okay.
And we got married a year after we got engaged.
Okay.
So.
And then fast forward, you had 3 children.
Yes.
Okay. And what are their names, ages, or just their ages?
So Braden right now is 20, and Shane is 17, and then Octavia, my little girl, is 16.
Okay. And at what point did you decide you needed to start homeschooling and...
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because we moved for the schools. We moved to a place that had really great public schools, and my son went through first grade, and then he went through second grade, and second grade was a disaster year, even by the school's accounts. Like the rumor around the school was that was the worst second grade classroom, and there were a couple of reasons. One, they had 2 teachers who traded. Right. And so one teacher would do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and the other teacher would take the off days.
So there's no consistency.
There's no consistency. They also had 5 problem children in the classroom. 5. I remember one boy in particular used to just swear at adults. Second grader, using 4-letter words at adults in the classroom in front of all the kids.
And they wouldn't do anything.
Well, it wasn't that they couldn't do everything that they needed to do. And so they had these 5 problems. And I remember the day I showed up, and she said, I said, how was your day today? And I hung out with the teacher. I really liked, the one teacher I really liked, and so we just got along, and I would help out in the classroom, and I would grade papers for her, or take the kids to the library, or teach art for the class, or whatever. And I came in one day, how was your day? And she said, oh, today was such a good day. I said, really? Do tell, spill the beans.
Right.
She said, all 5 of my problem children got the remedial whatever work that they do, so they will be removed from the classroom for periods of time. Right. Which I can't even begin to think what that does to the psyche of the child that is called out of the classroom. Right. And to the dynamic within the classroom that particular boy is singled out and withdrawn from the class. Right. And all the other children are twittering about it. I started feeling a little ill at ease. And then we went away for 2 weeks, and she assigned, if you go away, if you're going to take a vacation or travel, whatever, and we traveled a bit, there's a deal that you have with the school. If you take work with you and turn it in when you come back, the school still gets the money, as if your child were attending. Right, yeah. And that's important to them. Right. And I'm a team player. I'm like, sure. Plus, it's good to bring work along. Right. Give the kids some work to do. Yeah. And I did that. And I put it in front of Braden at first day. And he goes, oh, Mommy, we don't have to do this. Teacher says we don't have to do this. And I said, well, that's funny, because she said to me that you do. Right. So there it is. And he argued with me. He's like, no. In class, the teacher says we don't have to do this. So she'd given me the busy work, specifically that she doesn't assign in the classroom, for me to force him to do. I felt like it was a total setup. Right. Now, I don't think that she did it maliciously, but it didn't make me feel good. I was all of a sudden the nasty substitute teacher making him do the stuff that the real teacher didn't make him do. Right. But then I looked at the stuff, and I went, well, no wonder she doesn't make the kids do this. This is stupid. But she gave it specifically to me to make him do. Right. Right? So then the whole thing starts falling apart. And I'm going, why am I trusting these people, as much as I like her, why am I trusting her to know
she has to follow
how best to teach my child? Right. And then there was another thing. I go into it in my book, They're Your Kids. The 2 real sort of incidents that pointed me towards homeschooling. And over the summer, I just thought, I'm just going to try it on. Like a jacket, like a coat. And I just felt like, okay, today we're going to do some math. What is that going to feel like for me to be the teacher and do that? And I'll tell you this. I'd love to say that I never looked back. But I did put the kids back in school for a brief period of time, which, to my chagrin, was a disaster that was very painful.
Right.
And I had somebody say to me, "Isn't it lovely that God allowed you to make that mistake in order to prove to you that you are enough?"
Right.
And I was like, oh.
That's huge.
And that's what set me free, because it was a very bad experience.
Right.
Especially when I pulled them out and realized the damage that had been done in just those 6 short weeks in a small Christian school.
Right.
I just, parents just don't know what's happening in the school.
I don't think they do. And one person I talked to said, school can be like a 3-legged stool. You have the church, you have home, and you have the school. And not a lot, but people send their kids to school because they don't want to be that prong.
Right.
They want someone else to do it for them.
The 2 prongs.
Right. And we need to learn that we are enough, because I homed Jonathan, my son, for a year and a half, and then with the pandemic, when the school shut down, I enjoyed homeschooling him. And then my 5-year-old, I loved it. It was time that we got to spend together, and I got to really understand what they were learning. And I got to be the 3 prongs. I got to teach them school, I got to teach them how to socialize, and what the Bible says. So it's a huge thing that parents, I think, would, if they could embrace it more, would really love it.
So I've come a great distance since I started homeschooling. I don't even call it homeschooling anymore. It was homeschooling then.
Right.
But I've shifted now, because it's not home and it's not school.
Okay.
And so the idea that I want to instill in people is this idea of self-teaching. Because I'll tell you a quick story. My daughter, when she was very young, she really loved drawing and painting and doing all that stuff. And so I said to her when she was like 6 or 7, I said, well, if you really love doing it, you should do it for 15 minutes every day. You should just put aside the time and do 15 minutes.
Right.
She did 2 and 3 hours. She's a phenomenal artist. And so as she grew, I realized, oh my goodness, she's really an artist. What am I supposed to do with it? I'm not an artist.
Yes.
I went to school for engineering, and I acted. I've got the son who wants to be an actor, and I've got the son who's an engineer.
Right.
So I've got them covered. Like, I know how to teach them.
Right.
Or get them taught. But the artist, oh my gosh. So I hit my knees. I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do? And of course, when you pray, your prayer life infects your real life.
Yes.
As it should, right? That's partly why we pray, is because we bring these things into existence in our lives. And so I'm just talking with other people also. I'm looking for a way to teach my daughter art, and I don't know how to do it. And my sister suggested to me, artists should know anatomy. I'm like, bingo!
Yes.
I'm going to go find an anatomy class.
Yes.
Then I will have done my, checked my box. I found an anatomy, right? So I run up to Tavy's room, and I tell her that. And I say, so what do you think? We'll find you. She goes, oh, Mom. She opens her sketchbook. She shows me like a double-page spread of interior drawings of the human knee in various positions. She's way ahead of me. She's 12 years old.
Yeah.
She knew she needed anatomy.
Yes.
She's self-taught. That's the first time I realized, oh, I'm not the teacher?
Right.
No. I'm the, in classical conversations, which is what I do, we call it lead learner.
Right.
I'm the guide. I'm the parent. This used to be what parenting was. Right? But we are now a nation, because all of us went to public school, and all of our parents went to public school, which means that they weren't parented.
Right.
So they don't know how to parent. So generationally, we have lost the ability to parent our children, the knowledge, the understanding of how to parent our own children. And I believe that we are basically suffering from, in a sense, that abuse, if you will. Abuse is probably a strong word, although I don't know. You take somebody's parent away from them, I don't know what else you could call it.
You're taking their rights away. We're not teaching our children how to be successful.
But we weren't taught.
Right.
So it's not like I blame parents.
Right, no.
We were taught that school is the way to go.
Right.
But school is definitely not the way to go. Now I'm seeing it even more so than ever before. I mean, the blinders have come off, and we see what they're actually trying. Did you? I don't know if you saw this. I think it's Michigan. They literally put litter boxes in the bathrooms now for children who identify as cats.
No.
Yes. So that's
God.
insanity.
Right.
I just had a woman reach out. My granddaughter, for her studies on the Second World War, in 4th grade, she's 10 years old.
Right.
Right? 10 years old is 4th grade.
4th grade.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She, for her grade, and this is a large portion of her grade,
Right.
she has to dress up as Hitler.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I'm sorry. That's like that's a non-starter.
Right.
These people should not have any access to children. Like it's a non-starter. But this woman's saying, I don't think she should dress up as Hitler. What do you recommend? I recommend pulling your child out of school,
right.
because that's not education. And by the way, it's not a sartorial class. It's not that the little girl has to make the uniform.
Right.
You have to make the uniform. You're the parent.
Right.
You're complicit now in this insanity.
Right.
And don't think that they don't know that, right? Because can anybody give me a good reason for a little girl to dress up as Hitler? And by the way,
Right.
let's put the shoe on the other foot. Imagine that you know a lovely little boy, and his dream is to dress up as Hitler. What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let me teach you something, little boy.
Right.
That's not what we aspire to. Like,
Right. Let me tell you
it's
who Hitler really is.
This is
Yeah.
insanity.
Right.
And yet we have parents and grandparents, right? Because there's the grandparent who emailed me that she's wondering what she and the mother should do.
Right.
And they're incapable of reaching a decision that seems absolutely obvious.
Do you think that goes back to fear?
No,
Okay.
I think it goes back to the fact that our schools have not been engaged in education
Right.
for many decades.
Okay.
They are engaged in the opposite of education. They're engaging in anti-education, and I can prove it.
Okay.
What's the first thing you learn when you go to school? If you have a question, what are you supposed to do?
Raise your hand.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
What does that teach you? If you think about it, because I don't want to,
Yeah.
but what it teaches you is you have to draw attention to yourself.
Right.
You have to be willing to put yourself out there.
Right.
You don't know, but the teacher knows.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher knows everything. You must ask permission in order to learn, in order to understand. You need permission.
Right.
Ultimately, this teaches you, and it's visceral, right? I've just embodied it.
Right. Right. I mean,
Not to question.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Don't question.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other lesson that they teach you is failure's bad, right? What's
Right.
the first thing you think of when you think failure? The white sheet of paper with the great big red F on
Right.
it, right?
Yeah.
Failure. It's like obliteration. It's like cancellation.
Right.
It's the worst. What does that teach you?
Right. Shame based, you're no good.
Right.
Because you're.
But it
yeah.
teaches you to not try. So
Right.
don't question, don't try.
Mhm.
And finally, the biggest question in classes these days, teacher, will this be on the test?
Right.
Don't think. Just regurgitate what the teacher tells you,
Right.
and you'll get the grade, and you'll be able to advance.
Mm-hmm.
So don't question, don't try, don't
Right.
think. That is the opposite of education.
Exactly.
And it's the whole paradigm. It's not the specific teacher. There are some wonderful teachers, and they do great,
They
right?
do.
But they're doing great in a very fetid
Mm-hmm.
system, in a putrefied system, which holds that the teacher has all the knowledge, and
Right.
like a spigot, the teacher decides what you may and may not learn.
Right.
And that's not the truth, because the truth is, you won't learn anything that you don't decide to learn. So you're entirely self-taught. I know you went to university and you got your degrees and everything, but you taught yourself.
I did.
Because you read the books and you did the learning and you put in the hard work.
Right.
And if you're not going to take credit for that and you're just going to say, well, it was all the professor, I had nothing to do. No, come on.
Right.
So we're all, to whatever degree, we are self-taught. And that's why I'm trying to shift the focus, because we got to get the kids out of this abuse system.
No, I agree with you. In fact, my son, who's 16, he's like, Mom, what is going on with all this identity crisis at school? Why do people... He got off the TikTok and Instagram and all these things because he's like, Mom, the people are so confused in school.
Yes.
And then the kids are afraid to go to school. Like in the area that we live in, I told you I'd put 3 of my nieces and nephews in, but they don't want to be there because there's guns. And we get emails pretty much every day, seriously, that this happened in school today. We're on high alert.
Right.
It's not even a safe place to
Right.
send our kids.
We're so brainwashed that school is the way,
right.
the truth and the light, right?
Right.
That's what we're brainwashed.
Right.
School is the way. School is it.
Yeah.
We got to do school. So we have to figure out how to mitigate for the other things that really should be the red flags that go, no, 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 no. When they try to tell you that your 10-year-old little girl has to dress up as Hitler,
Right.
no, no, that's it.
Yeah.
We're done. And the good news is you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that difficult. It's not 8 hours a day.
Right.
It's not intensive between you and your kid, you yelling at your kid. It's actually, there's so much blessing in the home education paradigm.
Right.
So I try to cast a vision for parents because they don't understand, right? Because they went to school. So they think
Right.
that education looks like this. That's the opposite of education. As long as you don't do that, whatever they're doing in the schools, like you're already ahead.
Yeah.
And so I try to cast this vision when my three were all teenagers at the same time.
Right.
People say, "How old are your kids?" I'd say, "Well, I have 3 teenagers," and they'd roll their eyes. "Oh my gosh, you have your hands full."
Right.
And I'd be like, "Yeah, full of love. What do you mean? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Teenagers are difficult. That's not my experience."
They don't
No.
have to be.
Because I fostered a relationship with my teens. And by the way, they know that I don't know everything. I know a lot because
Right.
I'm an adult. But I don't know everything. And so gradually as they grew, they learned where they knew stuff that I didn't know,
Right.
and it became more of an exchange. And I'll tell you something. Kevin travels a lot. I go to bed early often with my computer, and I'll just sit in bed and work on my computer in the quiet. And at different times, each of my children, on multiple occasions, have come into my bedroom. They knock softly on the door. They come in, they sit on the end of my bed, and they just give me the download on what's happening in their lives.
Right. And
And
that's
it's
beautiful.
not something that I ask for.
Right.
And in fact, I could very easily say, "Look, I'm real busy. I got work to do."
Right.
But I don't, because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
We've lost sight of that.
Right.
We have children to be in relationship. That's God's plan.
Exactly.
Right? And then we squander that relationship by sacrificing our children
It's
on
so
their
true.
altar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's devastating. It's the destruction of the family.
Right.
And it can't help but. It's not the teacher's fault.
It's not. It's not the teacher's fault. And I think as parents, we do need to take we need to take that back. We need to take that stand and take it back. And you're doing that. You know, I have a friend. We met them in London when we lived in London. They have 5 kids, and she's homeschooled since her first one was little. And it had a bad rap for a long time.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're homeschooling. But I think it's something that is so beautiful, and it needs to be brought back to people's attention.
The reason that it had that bad reputation is because way back when the schools were primarily Christian and good things were happening in the
Right.
schools, the people who homeschooled were the kids who were disasters in the classroom.
Right.
They either were socially awkward or remedial or whatever, and so they didn't get along.
Right.
And that tainted the whole, "Oh, why are you homeschooling? What's wrong with your
Yeah,
kid?"
yeah, what
or
kind of
"What's
problem?"
wrong
Yeah.
in your right? That is no longer the case at all. And that's why Harvard and Princeton actively recruit homeschoolers.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you've got the Harvard professor who says, homeschooling should be outlawed.
Yeah.
It's a danger to allow parents to teach their own children. We should not allow parents to decide what happens in the schools.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Can we please just admit now this thing's gone, it was an interesting experiment,
Yeah.
went completely off the, and then these parents who are just showing up at school boards, God bless them, they're fighting with the school boards. My
Right.
darlings, if the school board already said, this is acceptable, we're okay with this,
Right.
you're not going to win. They're already too far gone.
Right.
And you want to set it back. You want to take it and say, no, we want to go back to where? To the place that we were that got us where we are now? You're not going to, it's not like that it's fixable.
Right.
So
We've got to. I think we just got to turn it around. We've got to bring it back. And I remember when I was putting the kids in the public school, I did call and say, okay, I've heard that you have girl bathroom, boy bathroom, and
kitty litter?
yeah, well, it was decide what you want bathroom. So you could go to any bathroom. And I was like, I said, is that what's happening? Because we had this whole list of all the things that the school was doing. I was like, this isn't making any sense. And the lady thought I was like, I'm a Christian, and these are my beliefs. And my girl is not going to go into a boy's bathroom, and the boy that I have is not going into the girl's bathroom. I was like, I need to make sure that these things aren't happening. But it's crazy that you even have to, as a parent, call and ask, are there boy bathrooms and girl bathrooms. Sam, it has been amazing talking with you today. I can't wait to talk to you some more.
Okay.
So stay with us. We'll be back with a little bit more of the Christian View. Okay, well, welcome to the Christian View. I'm your host, Dr. Trudy, and I am on location in West Palm Beach, and I'm interviewing the beautiful and talented Sam Sorbo. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's good to be here.
I'm excited. We did an episode earlier on homeschooling, and we talked a little bit about your book. It's called They're Your Kids. So make sure if you haven't read this to get this. It's all about homeschooling, and you can go to her website, samsorbo.com or Sorbo.
Studios.com, SorboStudios.com.
SorboStudios.com and get that book. But I wanted to switch gears and I wanted to talk about family and marriage. And because I really believe that our marriages and our families are in trouble. And I think you believe kind of the same thing. I was watching an interview that you were doing a while back, and you had just met your husband, and you weren't married at the time, but you had gotten this huge job.
Oh, okay.
Modeling.
So it actually, so we were engaged.
Right.
We were going to be married 4 months later.
Okay.
And my husband got sick. My fiance got sick.
Yes.
And he suffered 3 strokes. And so when he was in intensive care, as they were trying to figure things out, well, they finally got things figured out. It took them 2 days to identify exactly what the problem was, and he was lying in intensive care. He had a tube through his groin, up through his heart to deliver the clot busters into his bloodstream up there. And so he was, because of that, he was on all kinds of blood thinners. Mm-hmm. And because of that, he was not allowed to move. So he was lying flat on the bed, and he was unable to move because if anything sort of ruptured, he would bleed out because he had so much blood thinner in him that there would be no way to clot the blood.
Right.
And so at the same time, I had landed this job, which, you know, I'd auditioned for it prior to him getting sick, and then they finally came around and said, okay, we're booking her. And it was sort of the holy grail of acting, in the sense that it was a TV commercial, shoots 3 days, first class, New York City, and it's a lot of money up front. And then
for an actress, that's pretty great.
No, it's nice.
It's amazing.
No, seriously, it's like the holy grail in the sense that it's the easiest money.
Right.
It's just, you're in, you're out, you do the work, you get a lot of money up front, but then it airs.
Right. And
every time it airs, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Right. So it really was potentially a great deal of money. And I had to go to the hospital and say to Kevin, do you want me not to go? I got the job, I leave tomorrow, but do you want me to turn it down? And he said, yeah, I want you not to go.
Did you think he was going to say, no, you need to go?
Do you know what? I don't know. In hindsight, I realized I put him in the position of having to declare that he needed me.
Right.
And that he was a big enough man to be able to say that is just, to my benefit, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I tell this story in conjunction with the story of praying to God for the right man, because I had been meeting a lot of not right men, and in Hollywood, and so I said to God, I understand there's a compromise to be made. I just need to know what that compromise is. Is he going to be short? Is he going to be stupid? Is he going to be
bald,
unsuccessful? Is he going to be bald? Is he going to be whatever? And then I met Kevin, and Kevin was perfect. He was like, are you kidding me? He's an Adonis. He's amazing, and he's smart, and he's Christian, and he's like all of these fabulous things. And so I was in the hospital room, and I said, do you want me not to go? And he said, yes, I want you not to go. And I went, oh, that's the compromise. Done. Give up my career. And of course I don't know if I really thought I will never work in this town again or whatever. But I did recognize in that moment that I was choosing family over job.
Right.
Period.
Right.
I was choosing the love of my life and the potential to have a family over any work, anything.
Right.
Like it really isn't more complicated than that. And so a lot of when I do my speaking on education, because honestly, education is so now foundational, and it's so foundationally corrupted.
Right.
in our own views,
Yes.
because we've all been educated through the system,
Yes.
right? I start with this. I start with you need to boil decisions down. You need to cut off the noise.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of noise.
There is a lot.
But what about rape and incest?
Mm-hmm.
That's noise.
Yes.
Murder is wrong, period.
Right.
It's that simple, right? So you have to cut out the noise. And the noise was, well, what about the money?
Mm-hmm.
What about the glamour? What about New York City? It'll be fun, da-da-da, whatever.
What if I never get to work again? Because
What if I don't work
Yeah.
again? And it's that simple. I chose family,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And so, I say that in schools, look, the school tells us that education is the 3 R's, right?
Right.
Reading, writing, arithmetic. And that's a lie. And we know it's a lie.
Yes.
It's very clearly a lie because it's not 3 R's, first of all, right? So it's reading, it's an R, a W, and an A.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lie. And these are the educators telling us
Yeah,
this, right? And
right.
we're believing them because we're just
right.
bought into the whole system.
Right.
But it's not even that, because those are just tools to learn. Those are not actual learning. You learn your alphabet, you still know nothing.
Right.
You still have to learn to read. You learn to read, you still know nothing. You still have to read everything in order to learn. Those are just tools.
Right.
Real education is the 3 F's. Faith, family, and freedom.
Amen.
And the reason I say that is because faith is your worldview. Faith is how you look at the world. Faith colors everything.
Right.
Right now, our faith is education.
Mm-hmm. And it needs
It's
to
not
be.
Christianity.
Right.
It's not. It's secular humanism, which is what's taught in our education system, right? So we have faith in education. What's that?
Right.
That's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Family is your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts in the home.
Right.
The relationship that you have with your parents will be, and your siblings and whatever,
Yeah.
will then be taken out into the world, and it will inform all the relationships you have in the world.
Right.
Well, we're destroying that because we're taking children from the home so early
yes.
that their relationships form in schools.
Right.
And people always say, well, what about socialization? Well, who's to say that that's the way to socialize a child? By the way, I socialize my dog. I don't socialize my children.
Yes.
So that's all just a complete sort of misguided thought process.
Yeah.
So faith, family, and then freedom, because we all know that education equals freedom.
Yes.
True education.
True education.
Right? Because why? Because Christ came to set the captives free.
Amen.
And he is the truth. And therefore the truth is freedom.
Yes.
But we're breaking all that down in our schools. And we're destroying it in our schools.
Right.
And that's why my mission is to free parents and therefore free children from the shackles of our education system.
And I think that's great about freedom, because it's the truth that sets us free.
Right.
And the one thing that you do is that you speak truth, and you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid of speaking God's word. You're not afraid of saying, you know what, marriage is important, family is important, faith is important.
Well, so I made the choice right then.
Right.
And then I had 3 children. And I was like, but I'm going to go back to work now. When we finally moved back to LA, I was going to audition and whatever.
Right.
And I'll tell you this. So my youngest was a toddler. She had very few words. And I went on my maybe 3rd audition. And it was like a 2-3 hour thing, right? That I'm away from home. I had a full-time nanny. Everything's settled at home.
Right.
We're all good.
You're good to go.
I come back home. My little toddler runs up to me. No, 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 no. And I'm like, what is that about? So I pick her up, put her on my hip, and she turns to the nanny, and she says, "Bye-bye."
Oh. And so what I'm thinking about is that she needed you.
So she's taught me more than I've ever taught her.
Right. She's teaching you that you are her main thing, and that you need her. And I remember when Jonathan was 18 months old, everyone was telling me he needs to go to pre-K, he needs to go to a little school, he needs to go to school to socialize with other kids. I dropped him off that first day, and he was in tears.
Yes.
And I was too.
Yes.
I went and sat in the parking lot for an hour. I went back and got him and brought him home. I'm like, first of all, he's too young.
Right.
Second of all, I need to be playing with him at home. And I used to get made fun of, Sam, at the playgrounds, because I was the only mom that would slide down the slides with Jonathan, that would go on the monkey bars. I was like, this is my only chance with him.
Right.
And, I don't really care what else is going on in the world.
Right.
I need to focus on
Jonathan.
And the parents and later they would tell me, they're like, we used to laugh at you, Trudy, because you were the mom. The moms were all over here congregating, and you were over here playing like a little child. And I'm like, Jonathan's going to remember that forever. But, you said yes to God, and then the Lord asked you to do things, like don't go on the job interview, don't take the job that you got, and then focus on your children. Not many people would do that. Not many people would say, I'm going to put Christ first and my family second.
You know, lest people misunderstand, I was the mom who dropped the boy off at preschool and thought, oh, it's so cute he's crying, and I'm crying too, and that's just the way life is because this is what we have to do.
Right.
So yeah, I got it figured out for some big moments, but I was still very misguided for a very long time.
Right.
And I'm still learning, frankly.
Right.
But I've seen the light. I know where the truth lies, and the truth lies in family.
Right.
Because it will never. You won't see a tombstone that says, "I wish I spent more time at the office."
Right.
Right. And so it really is about those relationships more than anything. And then I want to encourage people, parents, when you think about the future for your child, if you're picturing the corner office with the spectacular view, then, well, that's worldly. That's what the world wants.
Right.
That's what the world is telling you should want. But that's not true. That's not life.
Right.
That's not happiness.
Well, I think the world has it skewed as what is successful and what is not successful. And we can find what's truly successful for us, then I think that's when that peace that surpasses all understanding just kind of guards.
So I walked away from my career.
Right.
To care for my soon-to-be husband. And years late, and then I walked away again for my children.
Right.
And years later, I produced and starred in a movie.
Right.
And I started acting again. And so God redeemed my career.
He did.
And that's all and by the way, by the time he redeemed it, I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, that's fun. It's not the focus.
Right.
And so I'm so grateful to be able to have shifted focus to what really is important, because my relationship with my kids is amazing.
Right.
That's what my life is about.
It's being there for them.
Yeah.
Because you were telling a story earlier about how you would at night just get on your computer and your kids would come in and just share with you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in every family. You know, it doesn't happen that the kids feel safe enough to just even come and say, "Hey, Mom, I want to share about my day."
So with the self-teaching paradigm that I try to offer to parents, you're not the person who knows everything.
Right.
Yes, you know a lot because you're an adult. But there's also those moments when your kid runs up to you and says, "Mommy, why are frogs green?" I have no idea. Right? So, gee, honey, I don't know. Let's go on the internet and look it up and see. Maybe there's a place that tells us why frogs are green. And the kid goes, "Wow, my mother's interested in the thing that I'm interested in." That goes a very long way.
Right.
Because kids don't spell love, Love, they spell it Time.
Right. It's so true. It's so true. And all the, you want to make that time for them. We need to make that time for them. And I think that's why a lot of the families are falling apart, is because we're not making the right choices. We're not putting family first. We're not putting our faith first.
We're not understanding, because we're so skewed by the education system.
Right.
We're not understanding the real paradigm. And so parents will say, "Well, I don't have patience."
Right.
Well, patience is a virtue.
It is.
It's possible that God gave you children to teach you patience.
Right.
Your children are there to teach you. It's, we say children are a gift from the Lord, right?
Right.
So, I'm going to you're going to give me this book, right?
Right.
So, you give it to me.
You go.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you open this for me?
Right.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That I took the gift that you just gave me and gave it to somebody else to open. That's what we're doing with our kids.
Right.
Every day we send them off to school.
Right.
You open it. Tell me what's in it.
And it's just because, again, like you said, we've been trained to do that.
Yes.
The kids go to school. They need to be
That's
at
what
school
they
at
do.
8, and they're there all day long. And it's just like they're there for, it's like a job.
Oh, not only that, then they come home with homework. Right? And by the way, what's your role in the homework? Your role is to stand over them with your finger pointing and making sure. So now it's adversarial. So the school has actually corrupted the parent-child relationship.
Right.
It's not a joint effort, let's go learn together.
Right.
It's adversarial. My mom makes me do it.
I've got to go up into my room, get on my computer, and do homework for the next 3 hours. And, I have a son who learns differently, and that causes anxiety. It causes stress. And then, he's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn. And that's more the breakdown in the family, because then we have to argue, well, school says you have to do this. And, like I said earlier, I did homeschooling for a year and a half, and that was probably one of the most joyous times I had with him, because it was just us one-on-one learning and growing together.
So if your goal for your child is a happy life, service to God. And you define happiness, right? You define it, and it's not the corner office.
Right.
I mean, I have 3 kids. I don't think any of them would be happy in the corner office, which is the stated goal, right?
Right.
Of our education system. Then break it down. What's going to make them happy?
Right.
Teach them how to learn. Then they can teach them anything that they wanted to know, and they can be successful doing anything. But the real happiness is know how to have a relationship. You're not going to learn that in school.
Right.
Know how to mourn somebody who's passed away. Know how to help somebody who's in mourning. These are know how to balance a checkbook. None of those things you learn in school.
It's so funny you said that because my son, he was like, they don't even teach us that in school anymore. He goes, they don't teach me how to do anything in school. All they want me to do is busy work, which is so funny because I just need to learn how to do a checkbook. I need to learn how to do the basic things in life, which we're teaching them at home.
That's right.
He's like, but why aren't they teaching us these things in school? And then one of the things my son has above his bed, which I think is so cool, it says, I would rather be judged by God. What would it say? I would rather be judged by God than judged by the world. That's not the right saying. It is. I'd rather be judged by the world. I'd rather stand with God and be judged by the world than to stand
with the world and be judged by God. Yeah.
And so often we have it backwards. We're so scared about what the world's going to say about us, what the world's going to think about us, that we put God on the back burner.
Well, parents are putting their kids in school because they are literally afraid of not putting their kids in school.
Right.
They have no idea what it looks like to not put their kids in school, but they're fearful of it.
Right.
I had a woman who I was consulting, and she sat next to me, and tears were streaming down her face. And I said, so what is it? What's all this emotion? She said, I'm so afraid I'm going to fail him.
By putting him in school?
By not putting him in school.
Oh, yeah.
By not putting him in school.
Well, I think that's because for a long time, like we had said in the earlier segment, is that homeschooling had gotten this bad reputation of,
parents
why
just
are
think,
you homeschooling?
Well, here's the thing. I've gone through this with parents before.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're too afraid to try to educate your 3rd grader. Okay, but you want to put her in the same system that made you feel completely inadequate.
Right.
You graduated, right? You went to high school and you graduated? Okay, but you don't think you can teach a 3rd grader what she needs to know.
Right.
But you're going to put her in the same system that turned out the likes of you. Like we have to break things down and think about them logically. If you feel incapable because that's what you were taught to feel in school.
Right, exactly.
I felt the subtitle is An Inspirational Journey from Self-Doubter to Homeschool Advocate. Self-doubter, that was me. I went to Duke. I speak 5 languages. I studied biomedical engineering. I felt completely incapable of educating my own kids because I was thinking along the lines of what the establishment wanted me to think.
Right.
Because I'm a product of the establishment. And I'm just here to say, the establishment's wrong.
Right.
I am enough.
You are.
Because my kids are self-taught.
Right.
They're enough.
And they're being enough.
Because they're created in the image of God.
And I think we need to get back to that.
Yeah.
We need people to remember who they are, where they came from, that they're made in the image of God.
Right.
And that they lack no good thing, that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that God loves them. But so often we're so fearful, like you said, we walk around in doubt. We're double-minded. Can we really do this?
Right.
And that means we're going against what the world says. We're going
That's
against the grain.
Which is what we're asked to do.
Right.
It's very clear in the
Scripture,
Bible.
Yeah.
You will be persecuted in my name. Bring it on.
Right.
And if you're not, and if you're sending your kids to public school, they are being taught that the Bible is a series of fairy tales.
Right.
That God is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And don't think that somehow an hour or 2 of church a week is going to
Right.
mitigate that.
Right.
It's just no.
No, it's not. It's not. It's going to probably confuse them a little bit more than not. So what's really real? What's really going on? And I think talking about the family, you have a devotional. You have a family devotional. And one thing we do as a family, we went from a family of 4 to a family of 5 pretty much overnight. But we've always sat around the table at least 4 nights a week. And we have a devotional, and we talk about, okay, what does the Bible say about this? What did you learn at school? And how does that relate to what Scripture says? And I think if we could get back to those times of family where we're sitting around the table and we're engaging in conversation, and we put our phones down and we look at each other in the eye and we say, okay, what does God say about that?
And by the way, that is what teenagers crave, and they're not getting it in school. So teenagers start at a very young age, really, they start wrestling with the meaning of life.
Right.
What is this all about? Why am I here? What's the point? And if you're not willing to engage in that conversation, you're sacrificing relationship.
Right.
So what you do is a beautiful thing. You have basically a free-for-all. Mm-hmm. We've got these topics that we can talk about, but it can go anywhere, right?
It can.
And so you bring up, well, my friend said that they wanted to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's have a discussion, an understanding of what's going on there. Mm-hmm. What did you say to her? What words could we give you to say to your friend, maybe? Things like that.
Opening up, just having an open conversation. So recently, drugs are huge in our schools, in the public schools. And one of my son's best friends from 3rd grade on came to our house one day. Hi. And Jonathan, he was really hesitant. He didn't say anything at first. And then finally, he's like, Mom, he's on drugs now. And so that was an opportunity just to say, okay, what are we going to do about it? How do you want us to handle it, Jonathan? And Jonathan's like, no, you know what? I'm going to handle it. I'm going to tell him that I love him as a friend, but I cannot hang out with him with drugs. So the friend, long story short, said, okay, we'll see you later. And so it devastated Jonathan. But it's teaching our children, you've got to stand for something.
But
you've got to stand for what's right.
There are choices.
Right.
There are choices. You can't be wishy-washy.
Right.
This is not the time to be wishy-washy.
Right. We're at a time that we need to take back we got to take back our children, take back our family for the glory of God, because time is short and the devil is
very busy.
He is very busy and he is wreaking havoc with our children, and we've got to, as parents, be united as husband and wife, and then take a stand for our children.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you're doing that through your books, and this is a great book. Okay, so I love this. It's True Faith, Embracing Adversity to Live in God's Light. So let's talk about that for just a minute.
Okay.
What do you mean by embracing adversity?
So there's a martial arts called Taekwondo.
Yes.
And the sort of philosophy of Taekwondo is you use your opponent's momentum against him. So when he comes at you, you actually pull him.
Right.
And so it completely gets him off balance.
Right.
That's the theory behind it.
Okay.
So when we're faced with adversity, we lean into it and we embrace it.
Right.
That in fact it is reasonable to assume, because we love God and we trust God, that we will be better for the adversity that we're facing. We'll be better through the hardship than we were before. And so even though it's hard, we look to the other side of it.
Right.
And in fact, if you embrace somebody, where are you looking? Beyond them. Right. So that's sort of the idea. And it's a book about the struggles that we've had as a married couple.
Right.
And how God can redeem marriage and help marriage. And I wanted to put something out there that spoke to married couples, that, this is, it's not all just rainbows and roses.
Not, no.
But it's worth it.
Right. And I think about, I'm glad that you wrote it, because I do think that people, they see people like, oh, they don't struggle at all. They have no struggles, But every marriage struggles. Every household struggles.
Every human being struggles.
Exactly. And so I think the enemy wants us to think that we're alone in our struggles.
Yeah. That's the travesty of social media.
Right.
And that's why kids are really struggling with it, because you go on social media and you see the sizzle rule, the sizzle roll of everybody's life, the fabulous vacation and but you don't see them struggling with bulimia or, whatever obsessions.
Depression, anxiety, whatever it is. And they say statistically 95% of people who go to church wear a mask. They're afraid to be real. They're afraid to let down their guard. They're afraid to let you know that they're hurting. And I think it's great that we have books like these and people who are speaking truth, so people know, what, I'm not alone. It's okay that I'm struggling, but there's always victory on the other side. We just have to go through it.
Embrace it.
Embrace it and go through it. I love it. Real quick, let's talk about this book, War on Words.
Words for Warriors.
Yeah, sorry, Words for Warriors.
Because there is a war on our words.
Yes.
And so, actually, I'll grab a copy because I do love this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Mm-hmm. Because Jesus is the truth.
Right.
And so this book is dedicated to the Word.
Oh, wow.
Because the devil wants to take our words and use them against us.
He does, yes.
And so this is just, I basically, it's a glossary in a sense. It's chronicling a number of words that have been taken and shifted. For instance, the word bigot, they changed the definition last year. Oxford changed the definition.
Really?
And so they broadened it. And so
Right.
if you prefer chicken to fish, you're a bigot. Which is absurd, right?
Right,
That's
right.
not what the word was intended to,
Right.
and that's not what it means. And so, no, you can't change that word.
Right.
One of the definitions, I can't remember which one I wrote at the end, duh, like, because some of them are just so obvious,
Right.
you know. But happy warrior is in here. Do you know what gaslighting is?
I do, but go ahead and tell us.
Gaslighting is, it's based on a play that became a very famous movie.
Right.
And it's basically, the guy in the movie is trying to convince the woman that she's crazy. So he switches the levels of the lighting and stuff to make her think that she's losing her sight or just basically going crazy.
Right.
And so there's a lot of gaslighting in the culture today to make you think that you're the crazy one.
Right.
And this is an important word to understand. It's an important concept to understand. So if you feel like, wow, I just must be crazy because I don't support kitty litter boxes in children's
Right,
bathrooms. No, you're not the crazy. They're gaslighting you to make you think that you're
Yes.
crazy. That's sort of the purpose of the book.
That's
to get us back on track a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been such a pleasure.
This was fun.
Thank you so much. Y'all can find her at samsorbo.com. Get all of her books. She has some 2 devotionals and so many amazing books. And so just
And
check-
movies. Don't forget the movies.
Oh, that's right. We didn't even talk about the movies today.
Movies.
She has great movies as well. So check out samsorbo.com, and we will see you next time on The Christian View. Have a blessed day.